Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nige here once again, and this is another crime analysis. It's been a while since I've done one of these. This was supposed to come out a long time ago, but we are here, and we have the Jared Fogle crime analysis. We're going to be talking about Mr. Jared Fogle here today. Definitely a lot to talk about with this one. Very interesting / very disturbing case is this one. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. A couple things before we begin, though. Of course, I'm going to try to go back to the old schedule where I did a crime analysis every month. Hopefully, I'm able to stick to that. This is obviously the one for June, and then, of course, July, August, September, so on. I'm going to try to go back to making the crime analysis a monthly thing. But also, as always, viewers' discretion is advised. Of course, you're gonna hear some things said and talked about in this case that may very well be very disturbing. So, just keep those things in mind. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, the first thing we have to talk about is who exactly is Jared Fogle. So. He was born Jared Scott Fogle on August 23rd of 1977 in Indianapolis, Indiana, to Norman and Adrienne Fogle, and he graduated from North Central High School in 1995 and from Indiana University in 2000. Now that that's Jared's background covered. Now we move on to what he's perhaps most known for, besides the other thing that we're going to talk about, and that's the Subway affiliation. But something else I did also want to bring up. I wanted to watch the Jared Fogle documentary that they made for the ID channel on Discovery Plus, and thankfully I was able to do so. And it's called Jared from Subway Catching a Monster. I was able to watch the documentary to kind of not just supplement the information that I have here taken down from the independent research I did as well, but it also gave an interesting eye view into different witness accounts, including someone who would be very important to this case that we'll talk about. But there was a lot of people that they interviewed, and a lot of people who talked about the situation surrounding it, and so they had some of his former classmates on there. They talked about how growing up in school he was very overweight, and he was very much a loner, very much an outcast. But now we move into the Subway affiliation because Jared Fogle first gained media attention in 1999 when it was discovered that he lost 245 pounds through exercise and a diet of Subway sandwiches, baked potato chips, and a diet soda, which came to about 2,000 calories, which was down from his previous 10,000 calorie eating habits. And this is what he ate every day. Eventually, a Subway franchisee in Chicago took Jared's story to a Chicago-based advertising agency for Subway. And so in 2000, Subway began airing an ad campaign featuring Jared and his story, although they put in an important disclaimer. The Subway diet, combined with a lot of walking, worked for Jared. We're not saying this is for everyone. You should check with your doctor before starting any diet program, but it worked for Jared. Obviously, he mostly talked about Jared's eating habits of the Subway sandwiches, which of course makes sense, and it's natural advertising and everything, showing the health benefits and everything for the Subway sandwiches. So this was initially created as a test ad. However, it became so popular that he was featured in more ad campaigns for Subway, as well as in-store appearances and subsequent talks about the benefits of healthy eating and exercising. And so in February of 2008, Subway launched an ad campaign called Tour de Pants, celebrating Jared's weight loss throughout the decade, with Jared retiring his 62-inch pants to a museum at the end of the tour. And Jared would be featured less in campaigns in 2008 as Subway shifted its advertising to its $5 footlong campaign. Now, this is unrelated to the crime analysis, but Subway, can you please bring back the $5 footlong? honestly, that was the whole reason I ate at Subway in the first place. Ace was the $5 footlongs, but they took them away from us, and I'm not happy about it. But anyway, Jared's affiliation with Subway also allowed him to make other appearances, such as in WWE and in the second and third Sharknado movies, although his appearance in Sharknado 3 was cut before it premiered on Sci-Fi. And we will find out why as we go through this analysis. So Subway's revenue tripled from 1998 to 2011 as a result of their affiliation with Jared Fogle, with them attributing 1/3 to 1/2 of their revenue to their partnership with Fogle. And by 2013, Fogle had filmed over 300 commercials and continued to make appearances and speeches for Subway. In 2004, Jared Fogle established the Jared Foundation, meant to raise awareness and educate about childhood obesity through programs and tools. However, in August of 2015, USA Today reported that the organization had not issued any grants or given any funds for its stated purpose. In fact, the article noted that the foundation had spent an average of $73,000 per year, with a majority of the money going toward paying the salary of the foundation's executive director. In addition, more than 1/4 of the funds were unaccounted for in the foundation's tax records, and the foundation was dissolved in 2012 by the Secretary of State for Indiana after the foundation had not paid the $5 annual reporting fee during the previous 2 years, even after being requested to do so multiple times. So, very interesting there. We actually have a quote here, and this is from Daniel Borochov, who is the president of Charity Watch, which is a charity watchdog program or operation or agency. And the quote says, "If Jared was really interested in helping children through his foundation, he could have gotten more money. As with a lot of celebrities, the charity appears to be more about image enhancement than charitable deeds." This is a major part of what really, I think, kickstarts a lot of this. Obviously, we'll go back in time a little bit, but this, I think, kickstarts a lot of this. In perhaps a bit of foreshadowing, Russell Taylor, who was the director of the Jared Foundation, was arrested in Indianapolis in 2015 for child exploitation, possession of child pornography, and voyeurism, with Taylor pleading guilty to the charges on September 1st of that year and being sentenced to 27 years in prison on December 10th of that year. Fogle cut all ties with Taylor following his arrest. And that's interesting considering what we're about to get into. But something else I wanted to make note of in the documentary. I forgot who it was who said it. I believe it was one of the former agents that they talked to. I believe it was the former FBI agent they talked to, where after this came out, he believed that Subway saw this and said, "Please don't let Jared Fogle be involved in this," but as we'll find out, he very much was. So now we move into the crime, the arrest, and the sentencing. So Jared Fogle first came to the attention of both state and federal law enforcement in 2007 after Rochelle Herman Walrand told the Sarasota Police Department that Fogle, who she had met at a local middle school for a health event as he was in the area for a speaking tour, had made remarks to her about middle school girls and him finding them attractive and everything. Rochelle then went to the FBI and worked with them as she was advised to record all of her conversations with Fogle, which she did for the next 4 years. During that time, Fogle made comments about having sex with middle school girls and asked Rochelle to install a webcam in her children's rooms so that he could watch them. Despite these comments, the FBI could not pursue a case against Fogle yet, as they needed more substantial proof. And what I like that the documentary did, first of all, the documentary, props to people who put that together, because I believe the documentary was very well made. But we actually got insight from Rochelle, her talking about everything that was happening, and not just her involvement in everything, but also the physical and mental toll that it took on her to the point where it caused her physical pain. I forget the exact name of the disease, but pretty much confined her to a wheelchair where she wasn't really able to walk or anything, and causing like physical strain and her fearing for her children's safety, especially after Fogle made the comments about wanting to put the webcam in her children's rooms and having and seeing how it really affected her and affected her relationship with her children and her children as well, which they brought her son in to also describe what her mother was doing, and she didn't really tell her children about what was going on. Her daughter ended up finding out about it anyway, because as Rochelle kept a journal of everything that was going on, and her daughter found the journal, but she stated that she didn't tell her children because she didn't want them to necessarily know just yet, and she wanted to keep them safe. She didn't want Fogle or anyone he was affiliated with to come after them, which does make sense. And Fogle, who of course was very influential with children and everything, I imagine had to be difficult to tell people that to tell your own children that this guy that you're idolizing, that all the children are idolizing, who's going on all these tours and stuff and talking with all these children and doing all these talks and stuff, is really the person that he is. And she found it very difficult to tell her children that. And it's one of those things where you can kind of see both sides. Like obviously some people can resonate with Rochelle not wanting to tell her children, but some people may say, I probably would have told my children anyway, to let them know. And I like that the documentary doesn't necessarily make a judgment call. All just has Rochelle explain her reasoning. The son kind of, he says he understands why his mother did it, but also kind of explains his side and what he was going through and everything, and how it affected him and his sister and the relationship between their mother. But otherwise, it doesn't necessarily make a judgment call, and I think that was very well done. But and then we have a quote here from Rochelle as well, saying, "I knew what he said was exactly how he felt. I knew that there was something very sinister about this man, behind the smile and the friendly presentation that he puts off, that was truly a mask." And I also like how it humanizes Rochelle, how she was frustrated that the FBI weren't acting soon enough, so she also got the Sarasota Police Department involved as well. Kind of almost went behind the FBI's back, which on one hand, and that almost compromised the investigation, and I think that was the other reason why they had the FBI, the former FBI agent, on, was so that he could explain how that could compromise the investigation, because the perpetrator, aka Fogle, might be a bit more apprehensive about it, but at the same time, Rochelle wanting to bring him to justice, wanting to bring Jared Fogle to justice, and that not being done yet. But it says more substantial proof. If they actually need like an act, talk is one thing, but act is another thing. And I almost kind of related to when I watched To Catch a Predator on YouTube, where her talk obviously is one thing, and sometimes they are able to charge them for that, but they actually show up to the sting house, whether they're then promptly arrested and everything. So they didn't have enough to prosecute him just yet, but they would, because as the police investigated Russell Taylor, they found that he had traded sexually explicit photos and videos of children with Jared Fogle, with some of the children being as young as 6 years old. Taylor ended up being named an unindicted co-conspirator in the FBI's case against Jared Fogle. Well, and they also, in the documentary, had Russell Taylor's stepchildren, and because Russell Taylor was married to a woman, had the stepchildren talking about everything that's happening, and then they found out that they were in a lot of these images. There were secret cameras throughout the house, and they were being taped. I imagine that has to be very frightening for them, and all their like private, intimate moments captured on video. Oh, that has to be horrifying. I can't imagine what they're going through. Ooh. And we have another quote here. This is from Tim Horty, who's a spokesman for the United States Department of Justice, saying, "What we found in Russell Taylor's home and on his computers led us to Jared Fogle," and it very much did. They were able to trace it to him and able to find out all like the contact and stuff, and that's how they were able to get a lot of the text messages and the things that were shared between Russell Taylor and Jared Fogle, and how they determined that both Jared Fogle and Russell Taylor were in on it. So earlier when I mentioned Jared Fogle kind of disassociated himself with Russell Taylor, and kind of like threw him under the bus and everything. But then it turns out Fogle was indeed in on this. So on July 7th of 2015, both the FBI and the Indiana State Police raided Fogle's residence in Zionsville, Zionsville is in Indiana, of course, and Fogle was arrested for both distribution and receipt of child pornography. And the same day, Subway suspended all ties with Fogle, and all references to him were removed from their website. And following the arrest, the FBI also revealed a series of text messages from 2008 between Jared Fogle and Cindy Mills, who was the Subway franchisee that Fogle had a relationship with at the time. And within these messages, Fogle talked about sexually abusing children between the ages of 9 and 16, told Mills to sell herself for sex on Craigslist, and asked Mills to arrange for Fogle to have sex with her 16-year-old cousin. Mills' lawyer stated that while Mills had reported Fogle's behavior to Subway's corporate management, they felt that there was no violation as Fogle was not an official Subway employee. However, representatives from Subway had denied it having any record of any allegations made by Mills. So whichever side you choose to believe when it comes to that debacle, whether you believe that the lawyer is telling the truth or that there really is no record heard from Subway, that's up to you. I'll leave that up to you. But apparently, and they showed this in the documentary, Fogle's ex-wife I've said that apparently there was more complaints made to Subway, meaning there is a very strong possibility that Subway was aware of this, at least at the time before Fogle's arrest. So it's insane to think about how he was able to still go about and everything, and without being arrested just yet. But nevertheless, on August 19th of 2015, a plea agreement was reached by both prosecutors and Jared Fogle, in which he pled guilty to 2 counts, one for both distribution and receipt of child pornography, and 1 count of traveling to engage in sexual conduct with a minor. For the second charge, Fogle traveled to New York City from Indiana, where he paid to engage in sexual acts with a 17-year-old. And prosecutors also alleged that Fogle offered a finder's fee to adult prostitutes to find him younger sex partners. In addition, Fogle also agreed to pay $1.4 million in restitution, which is about $100,000 to each victim. And so Fogle faced up to 50 years in prison if his case had gone to trial. However, as a result of his plea deal, prosecutors recommended no more than 12 and a half years, and in return, Fogle agreed to a minimum sentence of 5 years. And after the plea deal was announced, Subway, who had previously suspended ties with Fogle, officially cut all ties with Fogle. And on November 19th of 2015, Fogle officially pled guilty before federal judge Tanya Walton Pratt, and he made an apology in a statement saying that he was sorry for the pain he caused, that he and from a good family household to a lifestyle with lies and deceit and things of that nature. And John Bradford, who was a forensic psychiatrist who testified for Fogle's defense and team, states that Fogle suffered from a compulsive eating disorder for several years before losing weight and replacing this disorder with a sense of hypersexuality, which included weak or mild pedophilia. However, this analysis was criticized by Judge Pratt and on social media. Kind of trying to give Fogle the benefit of the doubt, but the judge obviously wasn't buying it. And the agent also states in the documentary that there's a lot of people with sexual fetishes and things like that, but pedophilia is ultimately a choice and everything. And sometimes, and I forget exactly how he said it, but pretty much to that effect, where people have the fetishes and everything that may come out of something like that, especially out of overeating and everything. But pedophilia usually doesn't come up. So going against that argument that tried to be made. So ultimately, Judge Pratt sentenced Fogle to 15 years and 8 months in prison, and which is more than both the prosecutors recommended and that Fogle requested. So he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in prison, with Fogle being required to serve at least 13 years in prison before being considered eligible for time off due to good behavior. And in addition, Fogle will have supervised visits when visiting minors, must gain approval from his ex-wife for supervised visits with his children, was fined an additional $175,000 in assets, was ordered to forfeit $50,000 in assets, will undergo treatment for sexual disorders after release, will be on supervised release for the rest of his life, and must register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Fogle and his lawyer attempted an appeal, but ultimately the sentence was upheld by the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Court. And we have a quote here from Judge Tanya Walton Pratt regarding Jared Fogle, saying, "The level of perversion and lawlessness exhibited by Mr. Fogle is extreme." So Fogle is currently incarcerated at the Federal Correctional Institution in Inglewood, Colorado. So he actually went bounced from prison to prison, and there was one in Houston, and I'm going to pull up the exact article so I can tell you exactly which prisons he went to. So first he went to the Henderson County, Kentucky Detention Center, but that one was only temporary. Then he got transferred to the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City. And then he was transferred to the Correctional Institution in Inglewood. Going from prison to prison, but he is ultimately right now in the institution in Inglewood, Colorado. And in a letter to the New York Post in 2021, Fogle claims that he royally screwed up, that's his words, and exercises regularly and runs 4 to 5 miles daily, with him claiming to weigh 180 pounds. But there's more. Fogle potentially face additional charges in New York, including statutory rape and/or trafficking persons for sexual reasons. And this is in regards to victims 13 to 14. There were 14 victims in total. This is in regards to victims 13 and 14. However, New York defense attorney Matthew R. Smalls stated that New York State would be unlikely to pursue these charges, as a new investigation would have to be opened and victim testimonies would need to be received. And we have another quote here. This is from Abby Phillip of the Washington Post. It says, "As a legal matter, Fogle may never be charged with rape or legally labeled with having committed that crime." And then Kathleen McLaughlin, if I mispronounced that name, I apologize. I think it's McLaughlin. So Kathleen McLaughlin, Jared Fogle's ex-wife, filed for divorce after Fogle's arrest, and Fogle agreed to pay her $7 million, with her and her children now living in an undisclosed location to avoid the media scrutiny to the association with Jared Fogle and his crimes. But that is about it for this analysis. Not gonna lie, this was very tough to get through and very heartbreaking to read about and to hear about in the documentary as well. And it's a lot of very concerning stuff, and not just from Fogle but from Russell Taylor. And it turns out his stepdaughter's mother was also in on it and even helped and even participated in it as well, which is absolutely disgusting that she would even think about participating in it. But if there is a moral to this, it's be careful who your children are around. Here was Jared Fogle, who was going to several assemblies and talks and everything, being around children almost all the time. Children looked up to him. He was an inspiration not just to the children but to so many people through his weight loss and everything, super popular, and this is who he was behind closed doors. It's insane to think about, and it was talked about a lot. And I also like how the documentary he brought this in as well, where people were saying like, Jared Fogle, no way, like there's no way he was able to do something like this. We don't want to think about how someone like Jared Fogle could be capable of this. That's the last thought that wants to cross our minds. But you never truly know. You never truly know a person, and so definitely be careful who you have around your kids, because you never truly know a person. And I can't imagine how horrified a lot of parents must have felt seeing that, seeing like my children may have been around this person, or like this is someone that my children looked up to, or someone that I looked up to. They even had one of his co-stars, someone who was also inspired by Jared Fogle's weight loss, and also followed a similar diet and lost, I believe, 50 pounds. How she was like so enamored with him, and then for this to happen, and it's insane to think about how many people looked up to him and how many people saw him as an inspiration, and then this is what he went and did. It's definitely heartbreaking to see, but yeah. So be careful who is around your children, and Rochelle in the documentary stated she doesn't feel like it's enough time. And honestly, for stuff like what Jared did, honestly, I kind of agree. But at the same time, I know there's only a certain amount of time that's allotted. But it is interesting that Russell Taylor got more time than Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle got 15 years and 8 months. Russell Taylor got 27 years. That's interesting. But just insane stuff to think about. Now, me personally, I never really had any like memories of Jared Fogle. I didn't really know who he was or anything. I didn't really learn about him until after this happened. Like by the time that I was like, some of my earliest memories watching like Subway commercials was the $5 footlong stuff, and by that point, Jared Fogle mostly phased out. And I asked my parents and my sister about him, like, hey, what do you remember about them? And they were telling me just like some of the commercials and stuff, and remembering some of the commercials that he was in and how prominent he was. Like I mentioned in my notes and everything, mostly phased out by the time I really like noticed and everything. Like whenever I watch TV and Subway commercial would pop up while I was watching like Nick or like Disney or Cartoon Network and stuff like that, it was mostly for the $5 footlong, which again, Subway, please bring back. But yeah, so I don't really have a lot of memories of Jared Fogle, but I can't imagine like this is someone you're looking up to. This is someone that you're enamored with, someone you're inspired by, and then they turn around and do this. I can kind of relate, and if I can relate it to something, it'd probably be something similar to like say Michael Jackson or perhaps R. Kelly, but more so Michael Jackson, because R. Kelly, he of course a lot of music that a bit more adult oriented, but Michael Jackson was beloved by pretty much all ages, and then for the things he was accused of, and whether he actually did it or not, it is still disputed to this day, of course. And I did a crime analysis about Michael Jackson a while back, so if you ever really go check out that video. But Jared Fogle, who pleaded guilty, he admitting what he did, leaving no ambiguity as to him actually doing this, is that betrayal of trust, and that's something they mentioned as well. The betrayal of trust. Someone that's I know I keep saying this, but I have to reiterate, this is someone that people looked up to, someone that people were inspired by, and that's partially due to the ads run by Subway. Hey, this is how much weight Jared lost through eating Subway sandwiches and everything, and how prominently featured he was, all the assemblies and the meetings and like all the talks and stuff he was going to, him being involved in stuff like marathons, him having the Jared Foundation, like a charity and everything, and just for this to happen, it's insane to think about. But that is it for this crime analysis. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and like I said, I know very disturbing stuff, but I hope you learned something. And of course, the important takeaway: be careful who you have your kids around. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the analysis, your thoughts on Jared Fogle, what's your reaction to it, your reaction to everything that's happening. If you remember Jared Fogle when he was prominent and everything, when he was in the commercials and everything. Let me know your experience. If you met or seen Jared Fogle in person, let me know that as well. But yes, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Also, let me know who else you want me to cover in a future crime analysis video. But thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later.